Good evening, everyone. Big Mess here with Appalachian Fly's Nor-vise Ambassador. Then I want to take the time to maybe share with you a dry fly pattern that you may or may not have heard of before. It is a Southern Appalachian fly pattern that came out of the Harry Murray Fly Shop, and it's called the Mr. Rapidan. The Mr. Rapidan is a calf wing fly. You can be tied in a parachute style or with your standard upright split wings. And on this one, I will do the upright split wings on this particular pattern. And the nice thing about a calf tail or calf body hair that's been dyed this color is it really aids in the visibility. And that was the sole intent and purpose of this particular fly pattern, was to add a little bit more visibility, which could prolong your time on the water, especially here in the mountains on the eastern seaboard, the Appalachian Mountains, the Great Smoky Mountain National Park, the Blue Ridge Parkway. Because it's so densely covered, sunlight does not penetrate here as well as it may as a western stream per se. So I'm actually going to tie this in a split wing configuration, but certainly there is a parachute version, and you tie it the way that you would love to tie it. So here in my Norvise fly tying system, I do have a size 12. It is a fulling mill. It's an 1180, and it's a just basically an all-purpose light wire hook. Definitely use the hook that you feel the most comfortable with there, but I really enjoy tying on those hooks, and we sell a lot of those there at the shop, so it works out quite well for us. So I'm going to reach in here, and I'm going to cut us off a clump of this calf tail. And this kind of goes back to that series I did on the live event recently or a wee bit ago about tying with calf tail or calf body. And calf tail is a little bit more crinkly. It's got a little bit more what's the good word to say to it, texture to the material there. You can kind of tell with the curvature of the particular fibers what we're talking about right there. But it is a great tie-in material to use as a winging material. The major difference between calf tail and calf body is the fact that your calf body hair is definitely a more finer, and it is a straighter material, natural material at that, and it seems to be easier to tie with. Actually, if you get really good, you don't even need to use a hair stacker. So if you'll pardon me for just a minute, I'm going to stack this hair right quick. We really want to take the time to make sure that those fibers are lined up the way that we want them to. And you can see right there, we've done a pretty decent job of that. Doesn't have to be perfect, but you just want to get it really, really close. So I am using some yellow Semperfli Nano Silk in this particular pattern. And I've actually taken the time with this particular material here, since I'm using this, I've actually put a little bit of wax on my thread to help in gripping this particular material so it doesn't necessarily slip on me and spin. Now, if you noticed, I'm trying to give myself some space here on the hook. So when I lift back on this particular fly, or wing rather, I'm going to be able to get a few wraps of hackle in the front. But if you go too far forward, what's going to happen is you're going to limit the number of wraps you can get in front of the fly. You'll have to get more in the back of the particular fly. And that's regardless of what type of winging material you're using. That could be hackle tip wings. That could be some of your hen wings that you're using, their natural curvature to them. It could be poly yarn type wings that your particular using that particular day. It doesn't really matter if you cannot get a few wraps in front. You're going to have to get more in the back there if you can't necessarily split the difference. That's actually what I'm actually trying to say. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take a moment. I want to build up a thread dam in front of this particular wing, which is going to help stand up. And it's almost to the point, if you notice, I'm almost wrapping back into that. You can also take your half hitch tool, and you can take and you can jam some knots if you want to right into that and kind of prop that up as well. There's a double, and we're also building up some redundancy. Now hopefully you can see the contrast against my shirt here, how bright this yellow calf tail is showing up there for us. And that's kind of really the intent of this particular fly pattern. So what I'm going to do now is going to take my thumb, I'm going to press back against the thread dam, and we're going to try to find that natural split of these fibers. I'm going to reach in here. Sorry, my hand's blocking this here momentarily, but I've got a V area right there. So I want to take my thread. I want to start to separate those out just like so. Now I want to start to post this up a little bit with some figure 8 type wraps, and it's going to draw those fibers in and make a really, really nice wing. Flies that are tied using calf tail or calf body really float good. So if you are fishing some water that is a little bit more turbulent, this is a great material to be using. Incorporate that in with a deer tail, a hollow type hair tail, and you're going to get a fly that's really going to stand up and take notice out there on the water. So I want to take my thread and I'm going to run that to the back, and the next material we're going to use on this particular fly is going to be moose. It's a moose body hair, and I've taken the time to actually stack that up there for us, and I'm going to pull that here out of my smaller hair stacker. I've actually stacked this down a couple times. Now I pull this out. Since my tail is going to the back, I want my fibers going to the back. That really aids in tying that in effectively. Now the length of your tail is typically about the shank of the hook, so I'm going to take kind of that eyeball measurement I have. I'm going to go ahead and kind of trim. Well, I like to kind of pre-trim, because I know with this downward slope, I really want those fibers to be in that general area. So I want to do a counterclockwise twist. I'm going to make a few wraps and look, what does my tail look like? That's a little bit long for me. I'm going to gather that up. I'm going to bring it over here. I'm going to shorten that up a bit, just like so. Remember, measure twice, cut once, kind of like if you're building a chicken coop or anything like that. That's really going to aid. So I feel very confident that I'm just going to go ahead and start securing that down. That looks dandy as candy on Valentine's Day. All right, so we got those fibers. They are locked in, and if you noticed, by not overlapping, we've created a nice taper on this particular fly. And I may not be doing 88 out the gate on the Norvise here this evening, but if you notice the precision that I have of being able to just grab and manipulate my fly into the position that I want it to be in, that enables me or any of the other Norvise users the opportunity to get really dialed in the placement of our thread wraps, our materials, and those things. If you're currently not using a Nor-vise, certainly check into those if you would. It's definitely a great investment. The next material we're going to use here today is a dubbing. It's from Fly-Rite, and this comes out of Frankenmuth there. I don't know if it's MI, so that is MI is Michigan, I believe. MN is Minnesota. And this is actually a poly, and it's their Fly-Rite dubbing number 34. It's a Quill Gordon brown drake yellow color. This body color is excellent. It is amazing. It makes a great fly. If you don't have those particular access to this particular type dubbing, take you some yellow and some brown and a little bit of green, and start kind of hand stacking that together to get this type of color here. This color is excellent, and if you'll notice here, these fibers are actually quite long, so I'm actually going to go ahead and start finger dubbing this here onto my thread. Now in a lot of cases I would actually take and spin this up here on the vise itself, but I'm using this nano silk, and I want to get really precise on this here. So I'm going to make a tight noodle. I want to set that down there momentarily. I'm going to rotate my Norvise so I can get in between that hook point and start making my way up with touching turn wraps. Hopefully you can really start to see those colors come together there. It's kind of that yellow greenish brown that we're looking for. It is amazing. Now, using a poly material though, it does aid in the floating or the waterproofing of the particular fly if there was ever such a case. But we're making this nice little dubbing noodle here to get us a really nice body. Then we're going to come up here, and then the next step after this here is we're going to select our hackle, and then we're going to get that tied in, and this fly will almost be ready for you to go out there and fish. Or sorry guys, definitely for me here, hopefully not too terribly long away, we can start throwing some flies like this. But that's an excellent color on that particular fly. You can start to see it come together with the moose. You can see the yellow calf tail right there. It's really starting to come together. I'm very happy with that. So for Hackle, they actually originally used brown and grizzly. You know, and that's a great combination. You definitely cannot go wrong with that. But today I'm actually going to be using a Whiting Farms. It's a Herbert Minor dry fly hackle, and it's a cape, and it's a golden badger. I like the colors in this here, and I think it's going to go quite well with what we've already done. So we're going to, prepare a feather, and I've somewhat try to pre-size, the hackle feather here, understanding that, we're going to have these wraps of these material that add bulk to the body. So we definitely want to compensate for that. So I'm going to prepare 2 of these dry fly feathers here and get those ready for the particular fly pattern. Feel free though to use the materials that you have close by for that. At the end of the day, the fish are not necessarily saying, hey, watch out there, Joe, that particular fly there was not tied with grizzly and brown. We can't have that one. So, use what you have readily available at your disposal to use. And with an effective presentation drift, in a lot of cases, you're still going to have an opportunity to fool a fish if you do everything else right. And at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. If you do everything right, you stand a chance of really having an opportunity to get on a fish, and that's what it's about. I think we've all been in a case like, man, I feel like we got the right fly and it just doesn't work, and then you throw on the ugliest thing you got in your box and it's whammo, and you're like, scratch your head for a second, right? The drifts are the same and stuff, but you know how it goes, right? So I want to lay me in these wraps, and if you notice that how I tied in that hackle feather, at least you will here in a moment, I've got it to where when I pick this up, the shiny side will be facing forward as we wrap forward there. That is important. And what I'm doing here is I want to make sure that we've got a nice even base, very smooth to tie with. I might even go as far to lay a little bit of dubbing on that. I'm going to end this right up in here, just like so. Take just a smidge dubbing if you want to. It's not necessary. I just want to put just a little bit to give me just a nice little base for those hackle fibers to go onto there as well. Okay. Beautiful. If you haven't done so already, and if you find value in this video, be sure to hit that like button. Leave us a comment. Tell us what some of your favorite flies are for low light conditions and maybe some of the materials that you're using. Then if you have any questions, be sure to hit us up with those. If you want to, we'll do our best to get back to you there. The Norvise family will do that, and I feel pretty good with that. So I want to take my here and do a hand half hitch. Beautiful. Starting to come together. Beautiful. Now what I like to do is tighten my tensioner knob on my Norvise, and I'm going to wrap these feathers together You see our body right there, all looking pretty sweet. And almost reminds you maybe of like a hare's, like a parachute hare's or body fly or something there, but beautiful colors. So I'm going to start wrapping. Get 3 wraps here in the back. Got an errant fiber that happens. I'm going to pull those wings back just like so. 2 and 3. Look at there. We kind of were able to split that. Bring my thread over. I'm going to spin my thread counterclockwise. Capture. Capture. Go in front. Capture one more time. Take my half hitch tool. Great effective thing you can do here is you can take and push any of those barbills back out of the way and you get a really nice clean eye. Just like that, folks. I'm going to take my Dr. Slick scissors, and if you notice I keep those in my hand at all times. I'm going to pull those fibers here forward, clip them. You got enough there for another fly. Okay, I'm going to take here and put another half hitch in it. Now back in the day we do a series of half hitches just like that to tie that off. Of course today we've got these, you know, nice little whip finish tools, or if you're really good you can whip finish, you know, by hand. I'm going to try to get over that like so. I'm locking over tight. I'm really torquing down on that, and I want to do one more time coming forward. 2, 3. Got some redundancy built into that, and I'm really torquing that. And if you know your thread's breaking strength, you know what you can get away with there, and you will have a really, really good durable fly that you can catch many fish on. So I've got a little errant fiber there. Sometimes you can just grab those and they come off. You can take a pair of Hackle pliers, reach in there. In this case here, because I'm on video, there we go. It wasn't going to work, but there we have it. That is a Mr. Rapidan tied with a split wing. Hopefully you find some value in that particular fly pattern. If I take it out right here, you can see that is a great looking fly. As you can tell, late evening, that fly right there is going to stand up and take notice. You'll be able to fish there late into the evening, and I guarantee you that you will be able to get on a few more fish that likely otherwise you would not had a chance to do. Tie those there in 10, 12s, and 14s, and play around with your, you know, your Hackle fibers. Do it parachute style. And I just want to thank you folks for watching. Let me know what you think. And 2 things for you: ugly flies catch fish, and hook sets are freeze. We'll catch you on the next Fly Time video. Y'all take care.